the Acer X34 Predator, an ultra-wide gaming monitor with tons of features to get excited about. Most of you are probably familiar with this monitor as it's been around for quite some time now. But seeing as DisplayPort 1.3 and 1.4 still haven't hit the ultra-wide monitor market, there's nothing currently out there to dethrone the Acer X34 or its Asus rival, the PG348Q. Now, I say gaming monitor, but the X34 Predator could really look quite comfortable in an office or casual desk setup, thanks to its fairly understated design. Although it does have an aggressive stance to it, apart from the Predator logo in the center of the chin bezel, there's no real gaming trademarks like red highlights or RGB logos, and that's something you'll really appreciate if you're going for a clean looking setup. Now, let's talk about the specs. For $1,100 this is definitely not a cheap monitor. However, it does come with a lot of premium specifications. Being an ultra-wide monitor, it is going to adopt that 21:9 aspect ratio and does so with a resolution of 3440 by 1440 and a native refresh rate of 60 Hz, which is overclockable up to 100 Hz, but we'll talk more on that later. In terms of adjustment, the X34 Predator is fairly minimal, with no swivel or rotation, but offering height adjustment of 130mm and tilt adjustment ranging from -5 to 35 degrees, which is quite a bit. It features a very subtle curve of 3800R, which is less aggressive than the typical 1600 or 1800R that is commonly seen in 34-inch ultra-wide monitors. And in my opinion, this is pretty much perfect for content creators as there is no noticeable distortion when it comes to picture skew or straight lines. The curve hits that fine line between still having the accuracy as a content creator, but still providing enough curve towards the edges to immerse you into whatever you're doing. Being an IPS panel, there may be some minimal glow around the edges, as this is just one of the few quality control issues among IPS panels. My particular panel had very minimal glow overall, which was only noticeable on a completely black screen in the top left-hand corner. With normal screen use, however, it was not an issue. The panel itself is 10-bit, allowing it to display up to 1.07 billion colors, and also covers 100% of the sRGB spectrum, resulting in beautifully crisp colors. You're also getting a grey-to-grey response time of 4 milliseconds, as well as G-Sync, which is Nvidia's adaptive sync technology, which totally removes any screen tearing during gaming. The panel features an anti-glare coating, which is extremely handy for people like me who have their setup opposite a window and would otherwise get annoying reflections on the display. The X34 Predator is built incredibly well, with this beautiful aluminium stand, which gives the monitor a very premium look. The back of the monitor, however, is made with a black glossy plastic, which means that it's basically a magnet for fingerprints and dust. If you have your desk against a wall, however, that shouldn't be a problem. Underneath the display you'll find a few LEDs, which you can change to white, orange, red, green, and blue, and also customize the effects to fixed, breathing, flashing, or ripple. You can also completely disable them if LEDs are not your thing, or if you have enough lighting already in your setup. If you want to make use of that buttery G-Sync goodness, then you're going to want to use that display port on the back, but if you're not gaming, then feel free to use the HDMI port beside it. You also get plenty of USB 3.0 ports, a single upstream and 4 downstream. There's also an audio out, which is handy for those who don't have a discrete audio interface. The OSD menu is quite challenging and takes a couple minutes to learn. There are 6 unlabeled buttons hidden underneath the display, just how they should be, which allow you to navigate the menu. Climbing in, you can adjust a mountain of settings, which is what you'd expect for a monitor of this caliber. In the picture tab, you've got some pre-configured color profiles, brightness, contrast, blue light, dark boost, and adaptive contrast. Out of the box, the X34 was incredibly bright at 80%, and I adjusted mine down to 60, which gave me a more comfortable experience for prolonged use. The color tab features an adjustment for gamma, color temperature, saturation, and 6-axis color. The next tab allows you to customize the OSD language, timeout, transparency, and also display the monitor's refresh rate. In settings, you can adjust input, DTS for the onboard speakers, and overdrive, which I recommend leaving in the normal mode if you want to avoid response time overshooting. More importantly, you can overclock the monitor's refresh rate easily with a few clicks. Alright, let's do this. Alrighty, options, settings, overclock, enable, max refresh. Okay, alright, yeah, reboot. 100 Hz, I can't wait for this. Yeah. apply. Despite the 100Hz hype, I was only able to get mine to a stable 95Hz without flickering. This is a fairly common problem for some X34 Predators, and Acer's response to this is that the monitor is overclockable up to 100Hz, and that it's not guaranteed at all. Keep in mind that most of the reviews currently on YouTube are loaned review units, and obviously these review units are ensured to hit 100Hz before they are sent out. This, however, is my monitor, a retail version. And despite being disappointed at first, at the end of the day, 5Hz is nothing to cry about, and honestly, it's nothing you'll notice when gaming, seeing as it's a difference of about 0.5 milliseconds. Now, let's talk a little bit about how it does for gaming, and as you'd expect, it does pretty damn well. The 21:9 aspect ratio paired with that subtle curve wraps you into whatever it is you're playing and immerses you like nothing else. The 3440 by 1440 resolution is, in my opinion, that sweet spot pixel density of around 110 pixels per inch, where from a normal viewing distance, all images and text look incredibly sharp. The 100Hz refresh rate, or 95 in my case, is still a giant leap above 60Hz, and first-person shooters like Battlefield 1 and Doom felt incredibly smooth, also thanks to that G-Sync technology. A lot of gamers will avoid the X34 Predator due to that 95 to 100Hz limit, but in my opinion, the ultra-wide form factor and subtle curve is totally worth it. And really anything up and over 100Hz, you start to get diminishing returns in terms of how many frames you're pushing and how smooth and fluid it feels. You will need a powerful GPU to take full advantage of that high refresh rate though, and I'd recommend at the very minimum a GTX 1070, and ideally a GTX 1080, Titan Pascal, or 1080 Ti. It is definitely doable on the GTX 1070 though, and if you want to see how it does in depth, then be sure to subscribe as I'll be taking a closer look very soon. Another use case where the X34 shines is in productivity and everyday use. When editing, it was a dreamlike experience to be able to stretch the majority of the editing timeline over the display and be able to see everything in a single view. The ultra-wide form factor allows you to have multiple windows open comfortably, and this definitely makes for a faster, more efficient workflow no matter what it is you do. Yes, I hear you, it's expensive, however the price is completely justified as there are absolutely no compromises when it comes to this display. The gaming experience is phenomenal and in my opinion provides the optimal balance between resolution, frame rate and panel quality. For everything else, the ultra-wide display is an absolute pleasure to work on thanks to its brilliant color depth and IPS panel. Later this year, we should be seeing that questionable 100Hz limit be stretched all the way up to 144Hz and above. But until then, the X34 Predator is still king. And yes, I would choose this over the Asus PG348Q, as I do prefer the sleeker design, and at least in my country, the X34 Predator is significantly cheaper. So, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video or leave a comment. The support lately has been absolutely unreal, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for similar content in the future. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.